Welcome back to Yard Talk. I'm your host, Michael Delagrange. With me now is the esteemed lawyer and expert in internet and modern forms of information and evidence, Libby McAvoy. Libby, thank you for joining me on Yard Talk.
My pleasure.
Open source investigations are usually associated with investigators, not lawyers. What is your role at Mnemonic, and how do you contribute to the planning and execution of open source investigations at Mnemonic?
Primarily, my role is as an interpreter, in a sense. So I work with the researchers and I help to interpret for them what it is lawyers are asking us to do. So our strategic litigation partners, as well as groups that are requesting information. And I also help to manage our procedures and our systems and our methods. So I make sure that as a standard methodology, we're operating in a way that lawyers are going to expect, but also agree with and really appreciate to help facilitate their work in the best possible manner.
How much information with proven evidentiary potential is easily and publicly accessible online?
There's a substantial amount of open source information with evidentiary potential. It's just a question of whether we're able to collect and secure it in a timely manner, so before it disappears from the internet, and also whether it's useful for the particular use that we're looking at. So it depends, as always, it depends on the facts, it depends on the case, it depends on the investigation, it depends on the law and what the requirements for that specific end use are. So the potential is massive, and there's a substantial amount of information. The Syrian Archive Project has, I think, 5 million records. The Ukrainian Archive Project, similarly, about 4 million. Sudanese Archive, I think, is about 500,000 at this point. So we're collecting a lot of information. It just will then take time to ensure that we're able to enable that information to reach its full potential as evidence.
What are some of Mnemonic's verification processes? And how do you ensure the integrity of the information that is stored in your databases?
When it comes to ensuring the integrity of the information, it really starts at the preservation stage. So Mnemonic is a fairly unique organization in that when it does open source investigations and information collection, we started from the perspective of how do we ensure that we've secured the material to the best possible standards, so in a forensically sound manner, really. And so we produce and develop and maintain these tools in-house. And this is a lot of work. Our tech team, in a lot of ways, are the real MVPs of the organization in this sense. So it all starts from that proper preservation perspective. When it comes to verifying the material, so once we've collected it, we then work on actually assessing it for its evidentiary potential and testing it to see whether it is reliable or relevant to the investigation that we're working on. We go through quite a few different techniques. So common verification techniques are things like geolocation or chronolocation. We also analyze metadata and other technical information, as well as source information. So we're looking there at the user that's created the information or the web page that's created the information. But then we're also assessing, is this the original source of the content? So could it be that the person who has uploaded the footage to YouTube is not the same person who filmed it? And we dig into that as well to kind of understand what is the value of this information from an evidentiary perspective.
How does preservation and investigation for legal/evidentiary uses differ from what's done for journalistic and human rights fact-finding purposes?
This is a really important question, and I think a lot of it comes into the rigor and the systemization and the comprehensiveness with which you're working. So when you're working from our perspective to a legal audience, we're really ensuring that we're documenting in a way that matches what a legal team will be expecting. So matches the standards that are used in other forms of investigations or principles that are recognized in other forms of investigations. And we're integrating that into our work. So when you're looking at a journalistic perspective, you're not necessarily grounding your work in these evidentiary principles or in these expectations for that kind of investigation. We work in line with the Berkeley Protocol, and I think this is an important distinction for legally informed or legally intended investigations. So we're really ensuring that we're trying to meet those expectations that are needed to be able to use the information as evidence.
How does Mnemonic assess the evidentiary value of open source information? How difficult is it to do this work to legal standards?
When we're working for our legal projects, it takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of labor. And so we know this going in. And so we know that we're going to be really dedicating a lot of energy into this output in a way that maybe isn't same or similar to what happens in journalistic outputs, for example, where really the end goal is to get a quick response out to be able to deal with information as it's coming in. We also know that at the end of the day, we are not the legal practitioners in this pipeline, so to speak. So what we're doing is we're taking in what we understand from legal principles and the rules of evidence and how they apply either in the specific jurisdiction that we're working with or more generally if that's what the project asks for. And we assess the information with all of this in mind. And we do it transparently, we document our methodology really clearly and comprehensively. And so at the end of the day, our goal is that we've presented something that gives the legal practitioners something to work with. They know what we've done because we've communicated it well, and we've done it in a systematic and comprehensive fashion.
How is open source information being used as evidence? And how might this work be challenged in court?
Some of this is hard to answer because, as happens with accountability processes, they're long. And so the end of the story really isn't known or public yet. What we understand is that our information is being used in a few important ways. One, we share information to help generate leads. We also know that people will request information from us if they've heard something about open source information from a witness, for example. If a witness describes seeing a video online or saying that, I know this happened or I know this was filmed because I saw the video on Facebook. This is really where our information can come in to help corroborate what that witness is saying and also help with that evidentiary piece of the puzzle, right? And so we know that right now, a lot of our information is working in tandem with other types of evidence. And that's where we tend to expect our work to play a role at the moment. Generating leads, working with witness information, and then also just really providing this opportunity for legal practitioners to pick up on whatever other threads they see in the work that we've done.
Libby McAvoy, thank you for joining me on Yard Talk.